Welcome to another edition of Tough Talking Thursday. My name is Mohamed Sherif. With me today, uh, Mr. Jerome Gaiman. Mr. Gaiman is the host of On Point here on Focus on Liberia. Mr. Gaiman, welcome to this week's edition of Tough Talking Thursday.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor to be on the platform with such distinguished gentlemen.
Also with me is Dr. Abdullah Dukle. Dr. Dukle is a regular panelist. Dr. Dukle is a prominent Liberian scholar. Dr. Dukle, welcome to this week's edition of Tough Talking Thursday.
Thank you, and I'm happy to be here with all our friends and Mr. Gaiman and everybody else. And I've never been on the screen with Gaiman, so I'm happy to be with him today.
Yeah, and, you gotta be careful with him. No,
I know Bacha a little bit.
And from West Africa, from Sierra Leone, from Kenema, Sierra Leone, is our West Africa correspondent, Elwa Amar. Elwa, welcome to Talking Thursday.
Oh, thank you very much. I can see almost a good morning from Sierra Leone.
Welcome. Last but not least is Ambassador William Greaves Jr. Ambassador Greaves, welcome to Talking Thursday.
Thanks for having me. And I just want to extend my greetings to the fellow panelists, Mr. Gaiman, Dr. Dukle, as well as our guests from our neighboring country, Sierra Leone, Sir Amara, and thanks, Mr. Sherif, for hosting this program.
Thank you. Ambassador, this is my first time meeting you, of course, via this, through this medium, but I've watched your, appearances here with Dennis. You've, even though I may not agree with some of the things that, you propound, but, they are really in such an eloquent way. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So in tonight's edition, what we are going to discuss, there are issues going on. So one of the first things that we're going to discuss in this week's edition is the political situation in our region. Recently, there was an arrest in Monrovia, the arrest and extradition of the former superintendent of police, Sierra Leone's former superintendent of police, Mohamed Toure was arrested on August 7. He has since been extradited or extradited to Sierra Leone. We will look at that and the implication of that for us in Liberia. Meanwhile, there has been in recent times, in the last 2 weeks or so, a military takeover, another military takeover in the Republic of Niger. Niger has had troubles with military coups. This is probably the fifth coup since 1960. So what does this mean for Liberia? ECOWAS has given them an ultimatum, but the Niger military rulers have turned down any sort of mediation. In fact, they've closed their airspace and they have defied ECOWAS. So what does this mean for Liberia? Are we returning to an era in the West African region of military takeovers all over the place? These things come around elections. So are we concerned about our own situation should ECOWAS fail? And so we will look at all of this and dissect what is going on and the implications for us. So to begin, now since Edward Amara is on the ground in Sierra Leone, there in Sierra Leone in West Africa, Edward, talk to me about what are you hearing? What is the situation? So we're going to start, I guess the epicenter actually is in Niger, but we're going to start in Sierra Leone because there's a lot of activities there right now. They've arrested some senior military leaders for plotting a coup against Julius Maada Bio.
Yeah, I think when we had our election on the 24th of June 2023, before going to the elections, Sierra Leone had a series of tension. There was demonstration, maybe certain allegations from political parties that election that was selected for the 24th of June 2023 will not be held under a free and fair atmosphere. We had a change into our voting pattern. Instead of going with the popular voting system that we used to have, they decided to do the PPR system, that is proportional representation. Of course, it's just like a clause into the constitution that was reactivated because Sierra Leone used it in the early 1990s. And people thought that this was something very new, but since it's a type of system that people, especially like our generation, was not used to it, so some people, because of one or two reasons, thought that this could something be new coming from the SIPP. But the issue was debated actually in Parliament, and the president, through the Supreme Court, granted the sitting government the mandate to ensure that election was being conducted. So I think the ECS, that's the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone, did her political education on our local radio stations. But still we had a series of confrontation. However, the opposition party, that is the All People Congress, was not that organized, and they failed to maybe galvanize themselves by having a coalition. So based on the proceedings or the prevailing circumstances that was actually on ground, a lot of political analysts, some political commentators agree that SAPP is definitely heading to win the election and a slight victory. And since the election was being conducted under proportional representation, we saw something like the party that came in 2018, third position, formed a coalition with the ruling SAPP. Then the one that came fourth, of course, which did not even have a seat in parliament, formed a coalition with the APC. And the APC was also having a lot of political wrangling because some people were actually accusing the former president, who many thought that he could have been a statesman, maybe avoid himself from involving into any political affairs, but he was deeply involved. So they said maybe Samora, who was definitely chosen, handpicked by Anes Bakroma. Anes wanted him to just lead the party. Maybe he could be at the back scene and remote controlling Anes. So key actors within the political, within the APC party also fell out with their own party and crossed to the ruling SLPP. So finally, on the 24th of June, the elections are being conducted. We went to the polls and for both parliamentary, local councils where we elect our councillors, and at the same time, we also elect people like the member of parliament and with the presidential election. So in short, President Bio won the election around 56%, and the APC lost the election. But another huge contest was in Freetown. We are for the mayoral election. For the APC won the mayoral election. But based on the proceeding, we had some amount of maybe discontent being expressed. The APC claimed that the elections were being rigged. So, but the election commissioner came out and said they do agree that the elections cannot be conducted free and fair. It's not anything like a church affairs. However, the irregularities or non-conformities in time of those political affairs that are involved, we are not adequate enough to actually nullify the Sierra Leone presidential election result. So they asked them to go into court. And 7 days time, that is the required time for any party to contest a kind of election result that you think that you are agree for. Unfortunately, the 7 days time expired. So we had some amount of social media, maybe it could be infodemic, but based on police maybe analysis, the pieces of evidence that they collected, they said some people known and unknown, they are abroad, some are within the state of Sierra Leone, are actually fomenting trouble, and they assure the public that they are going to ensure that they put the issue under absolute control, and anybody who is responsible to create political instability into Sierra Leone will definitely be arrested. So we heard that some three military officers we are being rounded up, key actors who may be civil servants, but the police have not come out publicly to name those who have actually been arrested. But however, they made a summary of those the sectors of people who have been arrested. And they also say that there are key actors who are also Sierra Leoneans, but not based within the country, who are actually sponsoring this violence. What they had wanted, according to the police, was that to call out protests, especially in densely populated areas like Freetown, where we do not have a single party controlling the Freetown. So if a kind of political or protest would have been there, maybe a state of chaos would have been there, total pandemonium, maybe the military.
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you to get into the details of what's going on as far as, you know, all the different activities. I just wanted to get to the point where, you know, some individuals have already been, you know, been apprehended for, you know, an attempted coup against President Malabio. So, Dr. Dukla, you've heard what Amara is saying. Concern for us because the last thing we want in the region, and certainly in Liberia, because I'm going to be honest, you know, we don't want a 1980. Okay, so I don't care what it is. You know, aggrieved parties must go to court. They must go, you know, seek legal recourse. I mean, we suffer a lot. So what's your take on this? This is a concern.
You mean my take on Sierra Leone now?
Right. So Sierra Leone, and then coming to Liberia in terms of what is going on so let's say in the region now, you know, you have an ultimatum to the military rulers in Niger, and they said they're not, you know, they're not going to step down. You have the situation in Sierra Leone, and so, you know, what are we looking at here for us, especially?
Well, I think every country has, you know, its own way of dealing with things. I don't like to always compare Liberia to other countries, because I think Liberia's history is different. I don't see these things happening. If they happen, I'm sure we'll find corrective measures, but I don't see, you know, from Ellen time to now, even George Weah, nobody talked about a coup d'etat. Nobody thought about, you know, subversive activity. I mean, they were, you know, save the state and all of that, but there was never a moment where Liberian people say, oh, maybe we need a military coup, or maybe we need to remove this guy or that lady when Ellen was president. I think we have learned so much lesson from, failed elections that I don't think anybody would try to repeat that in Liberia. I don't think so. I think the last 2-3 elections we had, there was some movement from CDC. They lost. Of course, they had spent a lot of money. They don't know how to repay. So they went in the streets and then they made a deal, and then they knew they lost the elections, but they didn't fight. There was no attempt to hijack the state. So I wouldn't say that what is happening in Sierra Leone is unfortunate. I only know about the case of Toure that came to Liberia, and he said his life will be at risk if he were to be returned to Sierra Leone. And since we don't have any extradition treaty with Sierra Leone, I wonder why the government decided to turn him over without, further investigation. I heard they had a hearing, one-day hearing, and then turn him over. I think that, Sierra Leone didn't do that when the president asked them to turn over Costa. So why do we precipitate to turn this man over? Even if he's accused of trying to overthrow the government, there's a court, ECOWAS court, to say, okay, we can keep you here because we have, this kind of relationship with Sierra Leone, but we can send you to the ECOWAS court. Let Sierra Leone deal with you through the ECOWAS court. But, that's all I know about that case. But I think it was wrong to send him back.
Thank you. Ambassador Greaves, to that point, do you think that Liberia should have extradited Mohamed Yete Toure, the former police chief, Sierra Leone police chief?
Yeah, if you look at the whole situation and look at our position right now, just considering the Mano River Basin, we have the 4th country now, Cote d'Ivoire, that just joined. So we're 3: Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea. Now we have Cote d'Ivoire. Now there are some agreements and some treaties in there that we all look after our brothers, meaning that member states will always look for the peace and security of each nation state. So if you have, in my thinking, and I will put it this way, if you had a cross-border activity involving situations that will derail the peace process in a neighboring country that is part of this Mano River Union, it behooves the government of Liberia to be very responsible in extraditing such individual. I mean, extradition does not mean you're going to be thrown beyond your right. You're going to be abused. There will be a proceeding, legal proceeding, trial, and all that. But the best thing in the interest of the basin is to make sure that these subversive activities are not going through cross-border. But the situation with Henry Costa, I don't know the depth of it, like Dr. Dugle just put. But I think also is that sometimes in the application and the way you go about these situations and getting people extradited, did we go through the right procedure? Or was it something that the government really wanted to have? Did the government really pay more attention to that? Or just one group or some officials in government decided, you know what, we're going to get him from Sierra Leone? Because I know that the two presidents will have to get involved in all that. Now, what I disliked about the Sierra Leone Authority was that to have officials of the Sierra Leone government on a matter that involves confidential issues to come on air and start castigating the Liberian government of how they run their country, and we can dictate to them and tell them what to do and what have you. I thought that was wrong, but I don't think we really took the serious measure and follow those the guidelines to have Costa extradited. So I thought it was just fun. But in this case, if we don't look after each other, because we all share borders, it could happen in Sierra Leone today, tomorrow it could be Liberia, next it will be Guinea or Cote d'Ivoire, whatever. If it's internal, that's a different thing. But if it has to do with cross-border, we can facilitate nothing of that kind of nature.
May I ask a question?
That's how I see it.
Can I ask a question before he goes off?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Dr. Dukley.
Do you know we had an extradition treaty with Sierra Leone that expired in 1962? It has never been renewed. Two, we don't have any inkling to know that this man was really trying to overthrow the government. There was no armed insurrection. There was no attempted coup publicized by Sierra Leone. So we just acted on hearsay by this government of Sierra Leone. So on what basis? You say, yeah, we have to look at each other. Does that mean that any opponent going to Sierra Leone, from Sierra Leone to Liberia or Cote d'Ivoire, will be turned over to the government that is chasing them without due process? I think the due process should have been ECOWAS or Manu River Union Court. I don't want to, I hate to just say that. I mean, there's no legal basis for it. We don't have we had one. We had a treaty, extradition treaty between Liberia and Sierra Leone, expired in 1962. Nobody renewed since then.
So you got a point, but I think you're looking at the bilateral agreement between the two countries, Liberia and Sierra Leone, and which of course is the treaty got expired a couple of years ago or decades ago. Now, but you forgot that we have a new formation that does not have it's multilateral, so it doesn't have to go like Sierra Leone to Liberia, Liberia to Sierra Leone to Guinea, or Guinea to Sierra Leone. So now it covers all of the Manu River countries. So what was amended was security. The first thing, free trade. But the first thing on the list was security. What is security? Cross-border activities. Because we're aware that we have porous borders between those countries. And we got history of the cross-border activities that have gone to destabilize most of these countries. So one of the things I remember I was at one of those meetings when it was stressed over and over again, security, watching the borders, watching each other. So those countries, they have a means of communicating, a joint communicator that it's confidential how to do it. Like I said, because that case was different, maybe we didn't follow the right procedure. But in this case, something grave of that nature, if they have followed the proper procedure to our government, and our government will have the right to investigate, understand what is what. Now, how did he enter Liberia? Under what condition? What was it? So we do that and try to put things together and put one or two together and understand the procedure and what have you, and having extra data. Because if we don't do that, especially when it comes to coup and overthrow, you see the trend in West Africa right now, right next to Guinea, Mali, Niger, just all the ECOWAS states. So there's something that no country want to play around with. So I got your point, but if you look at the Manu River Treaty itself, with the member states involved, and the concern and what are prioritized, which is security,
Manu River Union number one is economy, developing by the Manu River Union potentials to benefit all countries. Is economic number one, not security. Security is number 4.
The case of Mohamed Touré is a bit different from that of Henry Costa, with all due respect. I think Mohamed Touré has been on the run since last year. The Israeli government declared him wanted. I think we have few citizens who they deem that they are like a threat to public peace, and they have the intention of foment trouble into this particular country. So I think and this was requested by the Israeli government. If you read the report, they said following preliminary investigation by the Israeli police and that of the Liberians, so they worked together and they ensured that he was being handed over. And Costa was just like me and calling for demonstration. Was this a protest in Liberia? And his own was so quick, and maybe as the Honorable is saying, maybe Liberia did not follow the due process, and Costa arrival involved into a lot of other things. But if we watch at the prevailing circumstances within West Africa, any area where there is an alarm of coup blowing, I think the unity that ECOWAS was being formed for, we have to maintain it. That was why even when Liberian police or the Liberian government was about to hand over or extradite Mohamed Touré to Sierra Leone, there were certain cautions, and they also promised to maintain those things. These are two different cases, although they involve two different citizens. But watching at these prevailing circumstances, I think Liberia just wanted to work with Sierra Leone to see how we can prevent issues like that happening. Because I think the issue of coup d'etat is almost taking over West Africa. We need to be very cautious how we handle things like this.
Jerome, so this is a rare case, in the region, in the Mana River Union region. I don't remember any extradition that has occurred between the two countries this way. Even in Sierra Leone, in Sierra Leone's colonial times, D12 fled Liberia. Remember, I mean, he fled Liberia and went to Sierra Leone. So it has been a long history of Sierra Leone has been a sanctuary for Liberians, fleeing political troubles at home. So, what do you make of this? Is it something that should have happened? Or what do you make of it overall?
Thank you very much for your question. First, let me read the mission or the purpose, the objective of the Mana River Union. The Mana River Union aim is to achieve greater unity and solidarity and to enhance the cooperation between member states, peaceful coexistence among its people.
Of course.
This is by promoting peace, security, democratic principles, and the popular participation of citizens in pursuit of good governance. So what we are talking about here is we have a mission and an objective. As you can see on here, the objective is coexistence in peace, in pursuit of democracy. Without peace, the rest of what we are talking about is impossible. So let's look at what happened between Liberia and Sierra Leone last week. You saw them going to court. And the delegation, the highest delegation from the government of Sierra Leone, came and presented evidence in court. They presented evidence. And that evidence pointed to the fact that this gentleman has some questions to answer. And there were enough evidence that warranted him going back to Sierra Leone.
So let me hold you there for a second. What is the legal instrument that was used to extradite? What's, like in Liberian law? I read somewhere where I thought it was renewed. I thought 86, but I remember now 86. There was a crisis between Doe and Siaka Stevens over some issues also. So I don't think it was renewed in 86. So I just don't remember now if that treaty was ever renewed. So what would be, if he challenged, if this was properly challenged, you think he will go back?
Well, listen, and this is what the judicial system is all about. Okay, we expect that now he has been legally turned over to the Sierra Leone government. It is now, I think Dr. Dukley talked about the Mana River Union. Talking about the ECOWAS. I think this is where the folks from the ECOWAS and the international community now will pay a very keen attention to how the judicial process in Sierra Leone works. Liberia has done its part. You mentioned the Costa case. The Costa case is a very simple agitation, and the gentleman left and went, and the Liberian government wanted him. I don't know whether the Liberian government made an official request, but actually it wasn't the government, but it was the Justice Department, we heard, wanted him back into Liberia.
That's the government.
Yeah, according to Sierra Leone, they said the Liberian government did not provide sufficient evidence that would warrant him coming back to Liberia. In this case, I want, even though there are some, I think the diplomat is here, we are talking about state security, we are talking about confidentiality, we are talking about national security. But for them to have gone to court and presented those evidence, and the Liberian government and the judges look at it and say there's sufficient evidence for this man to be extradited, to be sent back, I think it meets the mission and the objective of the Mana River Union, absent the peace treaty that we talked about.
Excellent point. Edward Amara, so who are if you can hear me, there were. I want to go back to those who were. Uh, Hopefully he'll come back. But I was going to talk to him about individuals who were arrested. He will have some probably have some knowledge of, give us some names, because from what I'm hearing is that these are prominent, these are high-ranking military officers. So it's not, I don't think this thing is over. So it's kind of scary to me that all of a sudden this is going on in our region. I thought that, we had turned the page, Dr. Ducle. I don't know. What do you attribute this to?
I don't think we turned the page. I don't think we turned the page really in terms of democracy. If you look at what's happening in the region, I'm excluding Liberia, Ghana, maybe even Nigeria, the Anglophone countries. If you look at the Anglophone countries, there's a sense of democracy that's working, participation. People don't talk about, changing the constitution to run for another term. I think you're referring to the coup d'etats that happened in the 4 Francophone countries.
Yes.
In every Francophone country, the problem has been that the president, and like in Liberia, President Weah cannot change October 10 date and say, oh, I'm going to postpone it for 6 months. No, but Ivory Coast, the president can do it. He can dismiss the assembly and say, I'm calling for a new election in 6 months. And he can run by decree. And then he can do this thing. He can say, okay, the Constitution says you can only have 5-year term twice. I'm going to reduce it to 4 because I think 5 years is too long. By doing that, he says, well, this is a new constitution, then I have the right to run again. That's the power the Francophone presidents have. You saw in Ivory Coast, where 200 people died when Ouattara tried to get his 3rd term. When Senegal, 20, 30, 40 people died when Macky Sall was playing with the idea until he gave up. The French say, hey, you know what? We're not going to be part of this. Just go. You finish, you go. Condé in Guinea, what did he do? He had a referendum in the middle of a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that result, he went on to say, I deserve a 3rd term because this is a new constitution. So this does not happen in Anglophone countries. It only happened in the French countries. Because their constitution was based on, most of their constitutions, I think all of them, based on the French constitution of the 1950s, which was tailor-cut for Charles de Gaulle. And de Gaulle was a wartime president. So he had all the powers. But as democracy evolved in France, they took away those powers from the president. But in the colonies, they strengthened the same powers to the president. So that's why people, they have this coup d'etat. I'm sorry to say, nobody wanted a coup d'etat. ECOWAS sent people to Mali, to IBK, Ibrahim Keita, who was overthrown. They said, you cannot have this referendum, you cannot have these elections under these conditions. He did have the elections, he said, I don't care. And brought in people. He dismissed people who were elected and brought in his own people. Ivory Coast, they sent 2 delegations. Alassane Ouattara, the same Alassane Ouattara said, ECOWAS dictator has no say in Ivory Coast. This is our problem. It is our sovereign problem. You had nothing to say, so I'm going to do what I want. And he went on, and 200 people died, and he became president. And Condé did the same thing. When they went to Condé, he said, I was a Democrat before you guys were born, so don't come and lecture me. He said, I was a Democrat before you guys were born. That's what he said at the ECOWAS delegation. So he got overthrown. Alassane survived, but I think that, it's not all West Africa. I think it's the countries that manipulate their own constitution, don't abide by the rule of law, and don't look at things and say, this is how we're supposed to, I don't think it's a pandemic. I think it's going through the Francophone countries. In Senegal, for the first time in 50 years, for the first time, people say Senegal could have a coup d'etat when Macky Sall was playing with the idea of, doing a 3rd term. For the first time ever. So I don't think it's a pandemic. I think it's a Francophone issue.
Yeah, thanks for Dr. Ducle. Thanks for laying that out. very eloquently, because that's something that, you know, a lot of us don't, you know, are not aware of, you know, to the full extent, in the manner in which you explain this. Yeah, I remember Conde, you know, it was very cynical. I mean, just, you know, he called for a referendum. It started with his people started to say, well, you know, he can, if the people still want him after 2 terms, after 10 years, and he was what, 85 years old or
Yep.
90 years old, something like that, and he
87.
still, I mean, just changed the rule broad daylight. So Conde and others, that was a coup d'etat, constitutional coup d'etat by a civilian president, that ECOWAS was not able to do anything, and hence the coup against him. And so that's what the military there is saying. I mean, so sometimes some of the interventions are justifiable, like in the case of Guinea. I hate to say it, but Ambassador Grieve. So, with that being said, now, do you think that if we get into a situation where George Weah says, you know, forget about this result, I'm not leaving. I've won. You know, let's say, you know, I know Jerome don't want me to say this, but let's say Boaka wins, you know, in October, right? Let's say Boaka wins, and, you know, people are dancing all over the place. And George Weah says, okay, we're going to recount this. And he recounts it and say, oh, you see, all the other ones, it was false because we had this in 85. Don't forget, you know, when Jackson Doe won. So if Barker wins and George Weah says, "Oh, forget about this," you know, and he's still the election. So, what do you see this possibility, and what would then happen? Because this is politics. Nothing is out of the realm of possibility.
Well, you know, more than being an ambassador, I put my legal hat on. I'm a legal practitioner as well. Just to
Okay.
let you guys know. So normally I wouldn't talk in a hypothetical stance or whatever you, but in this case, what I can tell you, rightfully so, is that you have to look at the individual track record, and you got to look at the history of the country and where we have come. This should be easy enough to dissect. We saw 2005. President George Weah went to the polls. He lost that elections, right? On our constitution, and but through via democracy, he had a right to protest the results. He had a right to contest it. He tried. They went in the street to protest it. There were no chaos. There were no atrocities. There were no gunfight. Our partners came in, the mediators and what have you, and managed to resolve that. And he accepted. And we had a peaceful tenure of Madam President Sirleaf, former President Sirleaf. So that tells you the level of maturity that have been shown by this individual, even from the onset. We saw again in 2011, and after that, what did he say when he had an interview? I remember he was like, "Well, we tried, we thought we won it, but we didn't make it, so we're not going to give up. We're going to come again." He didn't say we're going to go in the bushes, we're going to go in the trenches, and take up arms. He said we're going to come back again 2011, and this time we're sure we're going to get it. The people say, I'm not educated, I don't know book. I'm going to use this time to go back to school and get my degree. And that degree, I will bring it and show it to all Liberian people, and we'll see what happens. 2011. 2011 came, he came back, he got his degree, like he said, and that's leadership, that's vision, that's forward thinking, patience. He came back, the coercing. You can't run now because, you know, the president has already made a strong foundation. Not only that she's experienced and internationally connected, but she has proven over the 6 years that she's capable, and the people have confided trust in her. So when you come in, even with your degree or the degrees, I don't know how many you got, you can still contest against her. So they're talking down on being the first guy on the ballot. He's accepted. That's wise. That's wisdom. He went number 2. He said, okay, Mr. Winston Totman have the same experience, same pedigree as Madam Sherif. So we're putting from, let's see the two, match them and see what the result's going to be. The results turned out to be negative against him again. What did it do? They put a protest. And that guy got killed. He got resolved. He listened. He went back. He came to the government. He joined the government as peace ambassador. And everybody told him, well, this is an appointed post. But if you want to be a leader, everybody say you're immature, you're young or inexperienced. Sorry, inexperienced, not immature. You're inexperienced and you just got a degree. You don't have leadership ability. You're not into politics and what have you. Why not try going as a senator and then see how it works? Get yourself into politics, understand the nitty-gritty, understand the operations of it. And then you can go back, to try to be president. He accepted. People called him. They said, oh, look at this. He was running to be president. Now he's running to be senator. He expelled. He went, he listened. He went and ran as senator. He became senator. 2017, when the time came for him, he went and tried. He won it. What happened when he won? It got contested by some of the veteran lawyers we had in the country. The late Councilor Charles Bromsky, Councilor Vani Shemo. I mean, who can go beyond those two when it comes to the legal history of our country? So those two, amongst others, took him to court, contested elections. He willingly went through the process. So we have tested the resolve of this individual. We have seen how far he has come, both losing and winning, and we know exactly where he stands. So in a hypothetical, I know that Liberia is on an irrevocable path to democracy and progress. I don't see us derailing this whole thing. And with him, I can put my trust and confidence in him because I've seen from the past and through experience what he has gone through. His resilience, his wisdom, his forward thinking, his patience, and his resolve. So I don't think we ever going to have a situation like that.
Thank you. Viewers, if you're just joining us, this is Tough Talking Thursday. With me today is Jerome Gaiman. Mr. Gaiman is the host of On Point here on Focus on Liberia. Also with me is Dr. Abdullah Dukley, Liberian scholar, and Ambassador William Greaves Jr. Also with me is our West Africa correspondent, Edward Amar. Edward, you back with us? Okay, so can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm sorry, my data is almost done, so I can just communicate and leave. Your data is really expensive, and I took a long time waiting on you.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna have you come in now. So talk to me about do you have names of individuals who were picked up? They were senior military officers. How connected were they to the upper echelon of the military?
Well, I think in my analysis, the mentioned key sectors of people that were arrested, senior military officers, key actors out, people abroad, like I think the only person that was being named was this Abu Y Toure, who is known as Yeti in Sierra Leone. The rest are not actually being named by the police, but even the military admitted that key senior military officers we have picked up and they are on the investigation, maybe because of security reason and maybe not to disturb any investigation. Those people who have been apprehended and are currently helping the police in investigation are not actually named, but they clearly stated that some military officers were picked up and key citizens who they think and feel that they are part and parcel of the intended coup pick up, but none of them have been actually named, with the exception of the police who was the former police officer who was arrested in Liberia. I think he went there last year.
So while you still have some data left. So is the situation that's going on now in the region, is it felt in Sierra Leone? And what do ordinary Sierra Leoneans feel? Because I've been busy online, on YouTube with some Nigerians who think that military intervention is a good thing, and I basically wrote back to some of them to say, you're stupid. Talk to us. Talk to Liberians. If you think that military intervention is a good thing, talk to Liberians. Now, as Dr. Douglas said, I mean, different countries, it's unique. Certain situations in different countries. So maybe to make that kind of a blanket statement is problematic, but I just feel overall for a country, democracy it's probably a way to go. Free and fair election is probably a way to go. So what is ordinary Sierra Leoneans saying on the ground? Like, do people even care? Are they concerned? Are they saying, we don't, we're aggrieved, and so we need a savior? You have people sometimes after election and people talking about savior. We need somebody to save us. Is this kind of thing going on in Sierra Leone?
Oh, Mo, in the first place, I think both supporters of the ruling party and that of the opposition party totally condemn maybe the premeditated or dastardly act, because we all know what we went through the brutal civil war. So nobody who is a wise Sierra Leonean, maybe a patriot, will ever intend supporting that, because even when we are not being ruled by any military regime, I think the concomitant effect of what is happening in the West is definitely taking a toll on us. So nobody wishes or think that military intervention will definitely take place. Speaking of that, when you watch, like, maybe somebody will even tell you that maybe the worst civilian government is the best military regime. But it does depend on the school of thought and the prevailing circumstances that certain countries are governing. If you watch, like, in the Sahel region, I think the layman, anyone, but even if we had to be in the Sahel region, definitely I would think that the best government to rule us could definitely be the military. Because if you watch, like, Chad, you think like Benin. Of course, Benin is only safe aside within the Sahel now. But I can tell you that with all everything that's happening around Benin, the possibility of Benin being overthrown is so high because of what is happening into the Sahel. Like, you see, Chad is in Central Africa, actually not within West Africa, but it's connected to the Sahel. Mali is having a military government. Burkina Faso is having another one. And Mali share border. Niger share border also with North Africa, like Libya, then part of Algeria. They see Nigeria, for it take a bulk of Nigeria, including Burkina Faso. So those people, that is why each time a military regime take over, you see them coming out on the street, maybe to protest in favor of the military. It is not like it is their wish for a military actually to be leading them. But for far too long, the civilian government have failed them. And any type of government that may come into power, if you do not have the absolute support of the military, it means your government can easily be watered at any time. You can completely overthrow it. Amadi Tumani of what? Of Mali tried that. We saw IBK were overthrown. Then we saw even development in Burkina Faso. After the fall of Blaise Compaoré, we saw Kabore came in, and he failed Gota and others came in. Of course, we saw the constitutional coup d'etat that happened into Guinea, and everybody thought that initially when a constitutional coup happened, nobody stated anything. ECOWAS was silent. That was why when Doumbouya took over, you saw even the opposition coming out and say that, okay, this is not a military, just like making some corrective measures. Then we all saw what is happening in Burkina Faso. So it depends. When you see the Sahel is going under a type of jihadist movement where for quite a long time, the civilians over there are definitely not on a peaceful solution. And any government that come into power, if you do not have the absolute support of the military, it means at any time you can go down. But in peaceful area where we do not have any jihadist movement, maybe we have our own political differences. We do not have any religion does not play a key role into our political sector. Although we may see sometimes ethnicity, but it's just maybe not deeply rooted, except when it comes to election. Maybe somebody can easily relate to you for one or two things, maybe because of any nepotism act. We do not actually favor military. But in those areas where they are facing jihadist movement, insurgents, banditry in places like Liberia, somebody will tell you that the best leadership that we can definitely have for now is definitely the military. And that is definitely what is happening to the Sahel. The Sahel for now any civilian over there, they may think that the best government to lead them is the military, because the civilians have definitely failed them. For people like us who are not part of the Sahel, we definitely not favor the military, because we know that if the military comes in, maybe all what they have condemned will definitely intend doing them. In places like Guinea, it is understandable. Alpha Conde violated the constitution, installed himself in power. The West African bloc, that is ECOWAS, we are so silent. Neither did AU say anything. Only when they retaliated by maybe somebody whom he hired to protect him at the end of the day, foul the contract that he was being hired for, he took over. That was when we started. But initially, everybody applauded them. Only when Mamadi failed now to honor the treaty or the social contract that he initially intended to say, this is what I'm going to say. When he failed, then we are now seeing condemnation. But all those who are in the Sahel, trust me, it is not their wish, but I think based on the prevailing circumstances, they will prefer the military instead of the civilian. Because the civilian that comes in without this absolute support of the military, it means you are gone.
Thank you. So, Jerome, so with maybe a different set of questions is that I know that there was a time that George Weah did push to lower the presidential term of office. I think this is like 4 years ago, and which to me, the more elections, the better. So, and Dr. Greaves mentioned, his record of, just accepting results and moving on to the next election, which, there's validity to that, because we can verify that over the election cycles that he has participated in. So, do you expect the same this time around, regardless of whatever it turns out?
Well, the truth is, I have a master's degree in sociology, and my concentration is inequality and social stratification. I know Dr. Du is saying during those days they will call me a Marxist because, but what I'm saying here is nobody in these elections has any record of accepting defeat as President Weah has. There is no record. Now, Joseph Boakai have never tasted defeat besides what he just went through. He has never gone through what President Weah has gone through. In fact, in the 2020 elections, with T5 and all of these guys, with all the resources, we were wiped clean across the nation. And some people said the president was weak. If it was Ellen, it would have never happened, and all of that. In our own home base, Dara Dillon beat us twice, cleaned us out twice. A position that we really wanted, and I'm telling you, we fought hard for that. He beat us twice. And nothing happened. We went into Grand Jita in our home court. They beat us. Bond County, they beat us. They beat us everywhere. And we accepted those. I was shocked in Lofa when we won that single election in Lofa for the former Vice President Joseph Boakai to come out and say that the election in Lofa was stolen. I was shocked to have heard a statesman, an elder, a man that we all look up to as the elder statesman, to have come out categorically to say the election was stolen. So all the other elections they won, it was good. The single one that they lost was stolen. It reminds me of what Michael Matthew used to say, in politics, the old party here says, we will do a coin toss. Head True party wins. Tail Michael Matthew loses. So Michael Matthew cannot win. The regular people cannot win. Till TWP wins. Head, the people lose. So this is what it is here. If the Unity Party opposition wins, it's good for them. If the CDC wins, it's stolen. So nobody, no matter what you do, the CDC cannot win as far as these guys are concerned. In fact, they have already made it clear. And as a Republican myself, I've seen what they are doing because that's what we did the last election. We knew that Trump was going to lose, so we told them the only way Trump lost unless you steal the election. So soon that we got lost in Pennsylvania, when Pennsylvania came in, everybody went on Facebook and said, "We told you so." The Unity Party had already told the folks, Georgia is so hated, the time is so hard, people are suffering. The only way Georgia can win unless he steals the election. That's the prevailing messages now all over the place. So what they are trying to say here is when it happens, if they win, Georgia have the record of saying you can have it. But we also know that Joseph Boyka has a record of not accepting defeat, even when the record is clear. Now, I think the diplomat here will tell you that Liberia, this coming election will be the most watched election. In fact, I heard last month there were 200 international observers already on the ground. 200. And I heard we'll be going up to about 500. Every county, every district will be surrounded by poll watchers. And every booth going to have every representative of the major parties. The tally sheets is going to be signed by both representatives and it's going to be placed on the wall. So before the central, before NEC gets the results, you will know in your district who won. So Liberia has the most transparent electoral system in the whole West Africa. So I am telling you, the possibility of someone saying cheating, I mean, you can say it because you want to say it, but evidence is going to be so clear that when Darrell Dillon won, I was sitting in my war room here in Florida, and I said, they have announced it. We paid someone to go from door to door and actually take the screenshot. And they went to district number 5 in T5 own hometown. On the wall, we were losing. And I'm saying to him, if T5 loses his home base, it's over in his own home. And nobody tampered with that. So I see no reason, no record whatsoever that this coming election will be tampered with. It's impossible. So I am saying to our folks, do not rest on your laurel. Do not rest that the people like, I think Admiral will tell you, I called him when the election was going on in Sierra Leone. I was on the phone with him, and I was on the phone with different stakeholders in Sierra Leone. And I said, well, what went wrong for the APC? And the APC was saying, well, the time is very difficult. People are hungry. Times are hard. Nobody in the red mind is going to vote Marabio. And the exact replica of what's going on in Liberia now. Amara, you go from there because you were on the phone with me. I was on the phone with the stakeholders in Sierra Leone, and those were the things they were saying. You can comment on that, please.
Yeah, I think you and I spoke on several occasions in respect of that, and I was very categorical in responding to you. I told you that based on the prevailing circumstances, one, the APC did not put their house in order. They failed to maybe galvanize themselves like for organizing a coalition, because we all know the power of incumbency in Africa. When BO took over, the APC was a bit maybe divided, and they failed to put their house in order. So when they actually saw it that no matter what happened, I think we are actually heading for a losing battle. And I also assure you that SAPP will definitely win the election within a post round. So APC having underscored all of those things, what they start, in fact, they were even saying before the contest of the election that SAPP has the intention of rigging the election. So even when the polls came out, definitely they only wanted maybe the public to qualify or satisfy what they were saying. So in Africa, it's a very difficult thing. Irrespective of what happened, we still expect opposition to play, maybe to make a far cry at the end of the day when result comes in. What I am not only certain of is no matter how credible the polls are, if the sitting government intends to rig those elections, they can easily be rigged, because we saw issues like that happening into Nigeria. You can see credible results coming from the polls. By the end of the day, it is a National Electoral Commission that have the mandate to declare those things. And they even have the mandate in the tallying center to invalidate some of the results that you guys thought and feel that they were actually valid at the polling station where they collated those things.
Can I, Jerome, I want to inject something.
We lost him. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Doe.
I don't agree with you, assessment of people, how people react to elections in Liberia. I was there in 2005. I still have film of people fighting right in front of the hotel. What is it? Yeah, Royal Hotel. ECOWAS standing, ECOWAS, not ECOWAS, but UNMISS troops standing one side and CDC people standing one side with stones and all of that. That went on for a week. In 2017, they even said somebody died. 2011, they said somebody died, somebody got shot because there was a protest. I remember I was in a protest. I was driving and then people were throwing rocks, and I remember right by Taylor House, I had to park my car on the side, on the ravine, and then walk to my house. So those happened. But when Bouakai lost the election in 2017, he didn't protest. He never went to court. Bramson was the one who went to court about the first round. Bouakai never went to court. When he lost in Lofa, the senatorial seat, he said, we let it go because we had it. That's what the point he was trying to make. That Lofa, he had Lofa. So it was stolen from us because we had it already. But he never went to, people say, let's go to court, let's challenge this. He said, no, let him run again. He's young. So I don't think we should change history as we are all here. Nobody saw Bouakai in the street in 2017. Nobody saw him in court. Nobody saw him in court in Lofa. No protest. Nobody protested. Never. But 2005, they were protesting in the streets. 2011, there were protests. I even went to a hearing here down in DC, where CDC and Global Witness and some people called, some kind of hearing in the middle of the electoral process between the first and the second round, and tried to say, okay, our Liberia election was stolen. Ellen had brought mercenaries. They brought this, and I was there. It was done by what's his name? Mad Dog's brother. What's his name? Mr. Togba. He was CDC man at the time. So I don't think, given the conditions that we're in now, I think I agree with you. One thing: if Joshua loses, I know he will say, "Thank God, I'm out of here." That's my opinion. I don't think he will protest. I don't think there'll be any fight, and I don't think anybody in that setting, among all of these people, Bouakai, Cummings, Gongro, or even Weah himself, will say, "Okay, let's go to war because somebody stole the elections." No, I think they walk away, and I don't think I don't see Liberian democracy being threatened as it is in other countries. Definitely not.
Thank you, Dr. Dukley. And so, Jerome, if you don't mind, we can take our first break, and when we come back, I will ask Ambassador Greaves a question of what's going on currently that's not sort of helpful to the process, and what would that mean going forward. So if we would we'll take our first break now, and when we come back, we will have the numbers, hopefully have the numbers for the call-ins, and so we will take our first break.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jack.
We are back. This is again Top Talking Thursday. My name is Mohamed Sherif, and Ambassador, are you? Can you hear me? All right. So, Jerome, I can't hear you. You're muted.
Let's go ahead.
Okay. So, Ambassador, while we're on the subject of the election, so I just want to deviate a little bit from the international, getting into the local, to basically talk about something that's going on, which is with 5 days or about barely a week into the process. There's already electoral violence. So, is this something, that's going to hurt us going forward? And what needs to be done? Shouldn't the president be coming out, as the leader of the country, making sure that everyone understands that, this election needs to be peaceful because, he drives the agenda in terms of, things like this.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, so I think I've heard one or two statements from him in that regards of encouraging people to be very peaceful, avoid violence and all that. But more than the president, it's all of us, our responsibility to make sure that this election is peaceful and fair. The oppositions also need to play a major role in this, because if you listen to some of the, like Mr. Gimmer just alluded to, if you listen to some of the rhetorics and talking points of the opposition, you would think they don't have much interest because they don't have a chance and they just want everything down. What are the platforms? What are their plans? Most time you hear all slogans criticizing the government, empty talking points. Like I said, it's already replete with nuances and cliches. There's no substance. There's nothing. I'm sitting here, and up to this time, this juncture in campaign, if you have not provided a convincing message to persuade people to vote for you, to understand what you stand for and what you want to lead them to, I would always almost say, because as a political strategist and tactical planner, I would say it's already over for you. At this time, there should be clear messaging. The people should understand what you tell them you're different, you're better, and then you're going even worse than them. The insults, the foul languages, all that, and then you say, oh, when they were in the opposition, they did it. No, but you say you're going to change the system, you're going to make it better, and then you're going on nitpicking and take for tap, which doesn't make any sense. So I think all of us, opposition, everybody, the government will play its part. The government can go too far because the government is trying to suppress opposition. The government is trying to do this. So all of us should be responsible. We all want democracy. We all want peace, and we should make sure that these things are curtailed. Look, going back in the years, like Dr. Dugley alluded to, he referenced 2005. 2011, there were protests. Protests can turn sometimes, violent phase, sometimes like with rioting and what have you. But it's not a total destabilization of a country. It's not bringing us down into chaos. It's just a few handful of people in one location who might,
Ambassador, let me hold you there for a second. Please. Should you have a city mayor? Should you have a city mayor of a major city, of our largest city, okay, Monrovia? Should we have the city mayor going around, labeling himself as the urban gorilla, creating chaos and instability, minor instability here and there, instability nonetheless. We saw the LU situation. Do you think as a lead, so if you were in the executive mansion tonight, and things happen like this, what will you do? Because we've been crying on this show forever for George Weah to do something, rein in some of these people. It's not going to happen, right? So what will you do differently? Do you think it should be this way?
The first thing as I engage in this topic is that I would like to know the facts. Is it really proven that this individual caused some of these mayhems and did these things that we are attributing to him. We got to be very mindful. Was they say, or was that saying by others to tint the character of somebody else? Now, I don't know the depth of that situation, so I wouldn't want to get involved with it and condemn any side one. Because what I know is that situations in our country has gotten polarized even before George Weah, and it has gone to certain states where some violence might take place, or riot, or what have you. Under our laws, people are allowed to assemble, people are allowed to protest, and we have security. That's democracy. So the rule of law takes its course. So if you went there, if you're not bringing the entire country to a standstill like we have over the past decades, you cannot attribute anything in that minor as chaos impeding the progress and peace of the country. So yes, there were protests. I was there myself. I witnessed. I was in the executive mansion. We drove through. We saw the protesters in the streets, and it was just in one area, like he rightfully said, from the single coming up to the OMIL headquarters and what have you. But they had their placard, and they had a position statement to present to the SRSG, and that was done. And after that, everything was over. I remember I saw President Weah go up in the building, came back. He was like, no, he went up, came back, different, calm. So everybody, we got to go home. It's over. I saw that. Okay. 2011, they congregated within their party headquarters. That's where most of the problem took place. It was central in one locale. So we can condemn those things here, but those things happen in democracy. The country goes on. Peace and stability is not triangularized. It's not. The process hasn't derailed. We haven't gone back to putting things out here and running around, taking guns and shooting each other. So that's why I want people to understand. Any democracy gets polarized. Politics, that's it. People going against, you have opposition. Sometimes opposition also does not have good intent. But
nobody's arrested. Nothing is done. Nobody. Since somebody be prosecuted at this time, what
you just said make sense, make point. But I won't lie. If we find out that he was an investigator and that this person really perpetrated these mayhem and chaos, or are we just learning from someone else, or are we just regurgitating something we heard? That's what I'm saying. If he was caught or he was investigated through all means, and the facts are substantiated that he caused these mayhems or caused these problems, if the government didn't take action to that, then we can blame the government. But have we reached that stage? That's what I'm saying. Okay. Because I don't want to be the casting blames. I don't want to be one of the person just saying XYZ did this and he was responsible for this or that when I don't know the facts and I haven't heard much of that case.
Okay. All right. Dr. Douglas, come in.
Yeah. I'm kind of troubled by these insinuations. When you say opposition have no platform, they have nothing, they can't prove that they're better than this man. And then on the other hand, you went and minimize the issue of protest after the election. I know why George Weah gave up. He went to Lagos, met with Obasanjo. He didn't stop. He didn't come back to Liberia. You remember that? When the protest got hot, he was invited to ECOWAS. He had a meeting with Obasanjo. From there, he came to the US and the protest stopped. So do not transform history. I think the opposition. I didn't interrupt you. I'm speaking. I would say 1990 something. When you talk about 2005, we were there. The protest was not in one place. ECOMA had to surround the election commission for a week. Were you not there? That ECOMA put tanks around the election commission? That had ever happened in Liberia before? ECOMA put tanks around the election commission and closed the road in front of Royal Hotel, up to Royal Hotel.
Are you asking me?
No, I'm not asking.
On mail, I know ECMO was not there.
No, I'm not. I said on mail. Yeah, first I said ECMO. You know, to me, ECMO is on mail anyway. So when you come up and say opposition has no platform up to today, they haven't presented anything to say what the people have been campaigning for 5 years. If you listen to the Liberia, how many people read platform? I mean, platform and whatever you call them. They're all prepared by consultants. They're all the same thing. So nobody read those things. Nobody remember anybody. Can you quote one thing from anybody's platform in the last 20 years in Liberia election? No, zero. It's all the same thing. Nobody read them. Yeah, I know, Gaming. Yeah, people write them. Consultants write them. Consultants like you.
I got my Bible right here. Got my Bible.
You consultants like you and me write those things. Nobody read them. How many people in Liberia sit down and say, "Oh, let me look at the UP platform. Let me look at Joshua platform. Let me look." Whatever Joshua never attended a debate. He became president. Let's not simplify. I understand your sympathy for the government. That's no problem. But I don't think you should transform issues. Everybody knows ANC has a platform. It's there on the website. You go there, you see it. UP has it. You go to the website, you see it. So let's not do that. I'm just saying, if you have, maybe it's not there yet, right? You're trying to go to the A2, you go online to go find it. Yeah, maybe, but they have platform. They've been talking. They've been putting themselves forward. They tried to put a CPP together. It didn't work. They broke apart. Now they're doing their own campaign. So what they're campaigning on, what they have been campaigning for 5 years is we are better off. We can do better. Liberia can be better. That's what they've been, and they've been saying things with policy decisions. So you can come here and sit and say they haven't said anything. You don't listen to them, doesn't mean they didn't say anything. I respect George Weah. I'm sure George Weah got his, he got his platform. And he used the same consultant as everybody to write a platform. That's what we do in Liberia. But the politics of it is like, we're talking about the elections. We hope this one will be non-violent, fair, and free. And I believe that. I truly believe that the election commission will come through. And I believe that anybody who loses the election will say, yes, I lost, let me go sit down. I believe that. But I'm not going to say Unity Party don't have a platform, but the government has one, or the government protest was mild protest in one location. No, that's an excuse. The city was closed down at one point.
Dr. Douglas, can I ask you a question? So yes. just playing devil's advocate. So there was I think you yourself mentioned in 2011 there was an incident where a CDC supporter was shot, right?
They said somebody was shot.
That was government police.
They said somebody was shot. I don't know who was it. In fact, I was in the U.S. when that happened. I was in the U.S. I went to Isaac Vuva had a hearing with Global Witness down in D.C. with IPS, which is one of those think tanks here. And I went to that meeting, and then he had a video and showing the video that somebody died in the compound and the bullet hit him.
Right.
And I don't know. I wasn't there. I had come for Christmas. I left and came for Christmas, and I was on my way. But I went to that hearing.
Yeah, there was a child.
They said a child. So 18-year-old boy died.
But some Chromai.
Some Chromai. Yes, I heard about that.
Yes.
But there was violence. So for on meal to even take guns out, there was violence. So it was peaceful protests.
So here we go. So here we go right now.
Hold on 1 second, Jerome.
These are some of the problems we have in our country. When one tries to be balanced and go into the facts of things, you're insinuated as being sympathetic or taking sides. I never took sides against George Weah government. Everything I spoke here, everything I deliberated on are factual, and they are there. I did not say there were no protests. I said there were protests. And on our constitution and by democracy, everyone have the right to protest, especially when it comes to electioneering. You have the right to protest if you felt the results were not in your favor. What you don't have the right to do is to create chaos for the entire nation, bring the nation down at a standstill because you feel you lost an election. Now, what happened 2005 when the protest took place? In some cases, people are hyper Everybody's different during protests. Things happen. Things might get a little bit violent, but riot might take place. But to what extent are you categorize that as destabilizing the country peace? Now, it got the UNMIL, the UN mediated, our partners mediated. What I saw, I was at the executive mansion then. We walked down, stood on the fence, looking at the protesters. We saw George Weah in the front in a white, I think white T-shirt or something like that when he arrived, or shirt when he arrived, and he went up. Everybody were in a happy mood. He went up. It's still vivid in my mind because we're in the executive mansion. He went upstairs, and when George Weah returned, he came down with the Secretary General, the SRSG. It was Alan Doss, and George Weah was different. And I saw him address the crowd. That's what I saw. 2000. So that was not chaos for the entire nation. That was protest. He had a right to do. Now, moving forward, don't accuse me of being sympathetic to him because I'm saying the facts. What I know the facts is what I say. Exactly. What I don't know the facts to be, I wouldn't say it. And also, when I say the opposition got no clear message, look, you can write the biggest book with all your platform, with everything you want to do. If it is not communicated, you've done nothing. I've listened to the various rallies. At night, I take my time and search my TV. I listen to all the YouTube channels from Liberia to see what's going on. What do I see? I see up last night. I just watched what's his name? Wilmot Pay. 30 minutes interview he had with a local journalist. The only thing he said was the government was corrupt. They are all thieves. They are criminals. He said that a new thing I just heard. They are trafficking women. They're using our women and girls as sex slaves. They're bringing drugs in the country. They're giving drugs to our children. I'm telling you. So what I'll share this with you. That's what I heard. And I was like, what? And when I heard opposition, I heard the other camp, nothing is said. They said the government has to be taken out of office. We have to probe them. We have to put them in jail. And we'll investigate them for corruption. That's all I hear. And I'm listening. I want to hear messaging. This is what the people get from that. That's what I'm saying. Everything is not committed. The platform is polarizing. It's dark. It's all chaos. That's what I hear. So maybe you listen to something different. I don't know. But what I've heard is what I just told you. And I didn't think it was right. Because I know opposition is to be a better alternative. Because if I'm in opposition, I'm telling the people, they are the problems we have. These are my platforms. These are my proposals. These are things I think that we can do to fix these things or to do better than who are there. Not to be worse than them, not to be equal to what they're doing. I want to be better. I'm bringing a better alternative to you, and I'm selling you. That's opposition in my mind. But when the opposition got nothing to say, every time they take a microphone, is we're going to put them in jail. They are stealing. They are criminals. Look at Mr. Cummings from the ANC. Everybody know what he said. The government's hooligans. Liberia. He generalized Liberia as hooligans, as a criminal dent. The criminal taking out diplomatic passports and flying around. He was not precise. Everything was generalized. We are talks, we are this. You're talking about your own people. You're not even putting out government officials. You just said Liberia now, as we know it. It's negative. That's what I'm saying. That's what I hear. Now, back to the point. All these things we have experienced in the past has helped to resolve us, make us resilient, even more and more, to foster more avenue for peace. How do we get there? It's for all of us to play a part. I never heard any opposition admonishing their supporters and their followers to be peaceful. This election's coming. We should all be peaceful. We should stay away from violence. We should do. I never heard it. I heard last night. I saw the current president, and when I say that again, I'm taking sides. I see the man who is not laying back and relaxing, like Amara just said. Our fellow partners who just left. Incumbents always have the advantage, right? So most of them lay back and say, okay, I got the people, I got the government, I got the money, I have the resources. I don't have to work hard. I saw the president in the ring walking in the rain, soaking wet, still trying to make his case to the Liberian people. I watched that rally. I was like, what? I saw the speakers, the various speakers at that program, speaking in the ring, and they had the president podium under the shade. And he said, if all these people speak in the ring, I should go in the ring and speak. And he walked in the ring. He spoke for a little more than 30 minutes in the ring. Didn't care. What the message was, I've done this. I can do better. I brought roles. I did this. I did. He's telling the people what he's done. There's something there to show. That's what I see. That's what I observe. Don't blame me.
Thank you, Ambassador. Jerome?
Yeah.
You want to come in?
Yeah, one of the things that I think when Dr. Dukley here, everybody knows he's a writer. When it comes to messaging, I know deep down in his heart, the folks are not listening to him because he has the blueprint when it comes to selling stuff. Because I follow him during the early days. He was so effective, we decided to attack him. And he knows, no disrespect, but we decided to attack him. He knows we respect him personally. But when we go out there, we went after him, but it had nothing to do. But I'm saying this to say, even I think why he say here, when your message is as good as the presentation. Now, we are talking about my daughter has never been to Liberia before, and she saw the delivery of President Weah. Okay, this is a man who is not, we say he's not eloquent, but the delivery, when he's speaking, his delivery makes people to listen, and it's not Shakespearean. It's just simple stuff like, listen, this man, we got two Joseph the dreamer, Joseph. I mean, stuff like that. That delivery. Now, the reason why we are saying our problem here is social. You remember the ambassador said, made reference to what happened with this Musu Scott case, where people sitting in the United States got up and said, Jefferson Koji and the president sent people. My own Bassa brother now, Verdia said the president sent somebody to the woman's house to sodomize her. The intent was to sodomize her and then murder her. And he gave the narration as though he was in the theater. Only later on to find out that it was all fabricated. And the ambassador himself said, I am embarrassed that some of these people with whom we have had some relationship, people that have been trained to come out and fabricate some of these things, it takes away what they were actually intending to do. So when we're talking about those who are old enough, I know Sherif, you might not have been around, but 1979.
What? Oh, wow.
Yes. Yeah, 1979 when Baca Mafia hit Grand Bassa County, when they told us, I listened to Deacon Carla, they said that we are going to strike. We are talking about at the time were 9, not 15 subdivisions. But the entire country was on lockdown when Powell said we are going. That's not the case here. The violence we are talking about is Monrovia based. What you saw in Monrovia, you didn't see it in Bassa, you didn't see it in Nimba, you didn't see it in Grand Jira. So, it's amplified because it's in Monrovia. But when you are talking about serious disturbance, it has to be nationwide, and I didn't see that. And I don't think we will see that. With someone with credible people like Dr. Dukley, Sherif, Honorable Grease, and myself and everybody, we like to taunt each other, but we know very well that we got our country at heart. Nobody, not me, will call anybody in Bassa and say, go burn down homes and all that. It doesn't happen. It's just the epicenter, that small Monrovia there. And I believe, despite what we see, the dramatization and people fighting and doing that for the camera, it's to me like it's staged. So I am saying that Joseph Boyka, Honorable Boyka himself, Cummings, and Mr. President Weah, and we all going to come together and tell our folks, listen, don't be like we have been in the past when we were growing up. When you are going to a football game, you know you're going to lose. You say, man, let's go start grumble. So the angel came. That's what I looked at. That's what I'm seeing there. It looks like Unity Party have said that this thing is not going to be as we say it's going to be. So what we're going to do is let's start grumble, because that's what it is. But what I'm saying here, I remember one time Barrow and IE played. As a Barrow fan, IE beat us. Okay, I was in Monroe. I came from Buchanan. IE beat us.
We always did.
What we decided to do was we chased the referee. The referee cheated. We chased the guy across the bridge. They had nothing to do with the game, just that they beat us, but we couldn't take it. So we chased the referee, say he cheated, or no. At the time we say he sold the game. So we have a culture deeply. I'm using the soccer analogy because everybody can relate to it. They either medicine man, or they cheated us, or they sold the game. So from the time we were children, it is ingrained in us never to accept defeat, even if it's fair. And it had transferred to our politics. Dr. Walker, Dr. Dugley.
But why is that? Why?
Something we call social change and culture. Culture is something that is passed down. I think Dr. Dugley know more about it, and Honorable Grecia know more about it than I do. This thing they call oral history. Everything we do, we don't see. I have my uncle who never been to Buchanan. He was born in the interior in Bassa. But when he tells you about Richard Nixon, you think he will have ever visited Bassa. He never been to the United States, but he knows Richard Nixon's story more than you do. And this man have never even been to Monrovia. So we have the oral history. We listen to things, and then we amplify it. And it will take some time for us to dilute that kind of thinking. Like we know in Liberia, nobody dies from natural causes. Yeah. If a guy is walking and he has a heart attack and dies, we don't say he died from heart attack, because in the absence of knowledge, superstition abounds. And this is what it is. Somebody either kill him, and then a sensible guy like me, who is a corn man, or the Fuller man, or the Bassa man, who is the witch doctor, will come and say, I know who did this. The witch doctor knows that Dr. Dugley and I have had some argument down the line. He said that Dr. Dugley killed this guy, and everybody descended. So we have the cultural thing that are embedded enough that we have to get rid of. Other than that, we transfer it to our politics.
Jerome, I know you will continue, right? It's funny. I want to, relate a story of what you just said. So my mom had gone to the interior. This is behind Zwedru. So she was, she did she did a little trading here and there. So she was in this town called Kumatan. This is on the road to Greenville, on the road to Sino. Sino County. So we reached one little town, and the car stopped, right? So the tire was deflated in the front, the driver's side. So the driver got out and said, "Oh yeah, okay, I just a little flat." And then as we try to go, he said, "I can roll on this, I can go." He said, "So y'all get in the car." So we got in the car. So as we try to get in the car, the other tire was deflated as well in the back. This is a pickup. And so one man got up and said, "Oh, my people, I don't know what's going on. The witchcraft them. They don't want us to go." So he yelled around this little village. I'm telling you, true story.
Yeah, I believe what I believe.
I was in the 9th, I think I was in the 10th grade. I was going to see my mom. So he got up and yelled across this place. He said, "My people, y'all stop it. Oh, y'all stop it." So y'all stop it. Y'all don't want us to pass this place again? We're not going to stop here anymore. So that was a big deal. And those who, he appealed to people who came out. They came out of the car. And people, put their hands on their head and, they believed him. But I never forget that, like stuff like that. I said, but this is just put some air in that damn tire and let's go. Stop with this. Let's go. Right. So you're right. Part of it is ingrained in our culture. But I asked the question why, because authorities have to also ensure that I know everywhere, no process is credible. If I'm the opposition and Ambassador Greaves wins, you know, how am I going to go back home to tell my wife, to tell my family that I lost? I have to say something to her. You know, I was supposed to win, but you know, the little part that he didn't do. So we explain it in a different way. But I think that the authorities, the government, those who are in charge of the election, have to make it credible in a way that, you know, even if it's challenged, that it can pass the test of that challenge. And that is the problem. So we have commissions, right? Somebody on this show was saying last time, I don't know if it was Dr. Dugley, that during the Ellen Johnson administration, the opposition was given the opportunity to pick members, people from their own party, to serve on the commission. So you want to make that commission credible. That to me is something that I think the government can look into. Is the commission, because this is important, Jerome just said it's an important election. Is the commission credible enough? Is it going to be independent enough? Okay, who are the members of this commission? The opposition, this is something before you get to October, the date of the election. I think this is something that they need to question. This is something they need to look at. You know, when the election results are in, it'll be too late to go back to say, well, so-and-so should not have been on the election commission. Oh, this election commission was fraudulent. Because we've seen time and time and again, there was a time where a whole election, we all know, 85, a whole election there was a recount somewhere else. The first result, it's like, no, we're going to count this somewhere else. And that was counted somewhere else. So we've gone far from that period now to this period where, you know, I'm not saying that it's going to be a repeat of 85, but, you know, the semblance of, you know, impartiality. Like, you know, a lot of people are not trustful of the commission. The commission has had a good record overall, but who is to say when it comes to the presidency now? This is George Weah's first time going for re-election as a president. So this is important. So is the commission credible enough?
So
I don't know if everybody can say that. The supporters can say that, but I don't know if everybody can say that the commission is credible enough. And people overlook these things, but it's so important to have an election commission that is credible, that can look the president's party in the eye to say, you guys lost this one. You know,
let me real quick before Dr. Kami. You know, we are in the truest, Honorable Greaves and Dr. Dukley, we live in, to me, the truest of all democracies here. And you see what we are going through here, that a particular segment of our society is trying to undermine the credibility of something that have been in place for hundreds of years, that we have tried, it have worked. When this particular democracy was on the edge, in my home state here, Florida, okay, Gore versus Bush.
Yeah.
It was when
Hanging shot.
Yes, well, we had a hanging shot, dipper shot, you name it, all kinds of shots, and we became the butt of jokes. But yet and still, this democracy bent as far as it could, but it didn't break. And then again, we are seeing, even in my own political party, and we are fighting that what you guys are doing, some of you guys are doing, it is not the right thing. This is not a Republican Party that I signed up because I'm a backdoor kind of Republican, where institution was and should be the hallmark of our party. We're talking about family value, we're talking about the rule of law. All of a sudden now, because the shoe is on the other foot, we have people going around saying, this country, this democracy does not need to exist, it needs to be overturned. All of these things are happening. But we are the democracy, you, Sherif, Dr. Dukley, we have to make sure that this doesn't go any further than what it is. We have proven, we have had several elections now where the losers have accepted, and I'll give you a typical example here. My cousin Daniel Che was running against Yobli Kanga in Grand Bassa County. And after he lost that very close election, he and I was on the phone. I said, DC, what happened? He said, Jerome, I have an inkling that something is not right. So I said, why? He said, but I can't make it because he says, elections are expensive. He says, because I didn't have the resources, there are certain districts I couldn't have poll washers, and I led those districts. I didn't have any poll washers there. Only Yobli Kanga had poll washers there. So whatever numbers came out of there, I can't dispute, I can't challenge it because I didn't have the resources to have people in those areas. It doesn't mean she cheated, but he could not validate those numbers because he didn't have anybody there.
Yeah.
Same thing we are talking, campaigns are not cheap. We saw in Lofa County where Unity Party said there were a few areas in Lofa County where they didn't have poll washers. And they have some skepticism in those areas too. So this is going to be now, this is nationwide now. So this is where we say the incumbency, the bullet pulpit comes into play, where the resources and the manpower is available. Now, some of the things that I think Dr. Douglas will be asking the Unity Party is, are you guys ready nationally to deploy in all 15 subdivisions, in all districts, in all polling booths? Do you have the manpower, the resources? Until they can answer that question in the affirmative, they will always have this doubt about what comes out of this election.
So with the question you just asked, it doesn't matter who can bring Jesus Christ or God to sit as the elections commissioner. If we're not trustworthy ourselves and we do not instill confidence within the process, it's still going to be a problem. And that's what I said. It is essential for all groups to ask for a peaceful process. We should, especially the opposition, that this is a time that they should exhibit leadership to make sure that the message are clear to the supporters, that this election should stay clear of violence, that we should have a peaceful process. And that will work even further than ensuring that we have commissioners who are balanced or are fair. Because with all those things, we wouldn't go one step ahead. So more than having the balance, who can we trust? We are humans. So I could be in the opposition and select a member to serve, and the government could use this influence and coerce that person.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
still boil down to the same thing. So until we all can exhibit leadership and integrity to a peaceful process and acknowledge our people who are following us, who we control, we cannot be certain of a peaceful election in our mind, because everything will be cheating. So, and one point I want to make is that I said we are a nation of democracy. We have a constitution that protects the rights of every citizen, every group, to go out and protest. In the same vein, when violence ensures, there are, under the same democracy, there are rule of law. Those individuals, if identified, will be investigated and prosecuted. So that's where I was coming from. I didn't make that part clear. So I want to add that to that, so that we all know. So it's not that I am encouraging violence or encouraging protest. But I said during protest, things normally go out of hand. And because we have democracy, those individuals should be investigated, should be probed, and under the rule of law, be investigated and prosecuted. So that's why it is. It is safe than having the whole country in chaos and going back to our just past history.
Thank you, Ambassador.
The last point I'll make. I'm sorry. The last point I'll make. This is what I get in my mind when I think of Mr. Cummings. Over the last 6 years, Liberia has become a gangster paradise. Resided over Liberia, gangster paradise, resided over by a band of thieves. Our country is a drug haven. Our country is a drug haven. Our diplomatic passports are processed by international criminals. Our democracy is under threat. Lawlessness abounds. And our governance system is overtaken by cronyism, incompetence, and stalking dictatorship. That's what I hear from the opposition.
Thank you, Ambassador. I'll come back to that. So, Dr. Dukley, what is your response?
My response is this. Still, when I say you sympathetic to the government, it's not out of the blue, because you always pick on what the opposition does. I have not heard you address the fact that on the first day of the campaign opening, a group of young guys were carrying a coffin with Bouakar's picture on it. All you needed to do is one UP partisan who get overheated and throw a rock into that group, and then you have it mayhem. Yes, CDC condemned it. The president spoke against it. It's not that, but I'm wondering, I say, how these guys who trying to survive on a daily basis will go buy a sophisticated coffin, have pictures of Bouakar and put it on it, and nobody knows until they get into the streets. So when we talk about these things, when you say we want to be balanced, I think we got to be totally balanced. Things happen. Unity Party have recorded a lot of incidents that happened in the last few days. They put on they say they're going to send them to the Election Commission. Nobody knows Unity Party to be a violent party. It never happened. ANC, no. Maybe they, but let's not say, okay, you guys, opposition has to say this. No, the government is the one to say, we are making sure that these elections are peaceful. We have the security, and they signed the Farmington agreement. Everybody was there. They all signed it. They all say, yes, we agree to have this election peaceful, fair, and transparent, and there be no violence, and we abide by the rules of law. If anybody loses, we go to court. So they all signed it. What do you want do you want them to campaign on this thing that we want peace? That's not how you win elections. They say make them they say no. Please, you guys talk for 10 minutes. I was quiet, listening to everyone.
Go ahead.
1 minute. We have a call for Dr. Dukley. Dr. Dukley, go ahead when you're done.
Who calling me?
Sir, tell us where you calling, your name and where you calling from.
Yeah, my name is Fumo Livingstone, calling from Rhode Island.
Go ahead.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just great show. Thank you, Dr. Duke. Dr. Duke make a salient point. Our Farmington Declaration, they all signed, and the CDC people are not following the rules. Again, the opening of the campaign, you had CDC with casket with another opposition party pictures on it. That's a provocation. Again, Mr. Grieve is just spreading all opinions. I don't think that's factual what all he's saying about Jawea being, Jawea went from, this school to this, it began from 2005 until 2017. CDC have been known of violent behavior, throwing casket, using women unaware, doing all sorts of things, provocating the people. So CDC they are not good at peaceful demonstration. Like today, what happened? JMB displays a very leadership. Because when you're going to the campaign headquarters, he was black. What he told the partisan was, let's postpone for Monday. He turned around, he canceled it. That's a peaceful way there. Or else he could tell his supporter, we have to go. That could cause chaos. But he saw it as a man of peace. He postponed the nomination to Monday. That's a peaceful leadership that we want.
Caller, which candidate you support?
I support JMB.
Okay.
I support JMB.
Okay.
And the reason I support it is that's one of the reasons. A peaceful man, because in 2017 when he lost the election, he congratulated George Weah. He said, for the sake of peace, I lost the election. The Liberian people are speaking, and let's respect it. That's a leadership. So we have 2005, he lost the election. He never called Ellen to say, oh, Ellen, congratulations, I lost the election. No, he did not do that.
All right,
He said they cheated them. They lost, he said they cheated.
Thank you.
So we have never had that peace matter when he lose the election to admit that he lost.
Caller, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Duke.
Yeah, no, I'm
your name was invoked there.
Yeah, but I'm just saying we have to be fair. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, Barker is that good, or Cummings is that good, and that, or even read through what he would or say on the 26th. Everybody said the same thing on the 26th. Where say the country is good, the other people say it's not good. That's the opposition political party. Biden said we're doing well. Trump said we're burning the country. We're going to elections. But when you pick on the opposition part and say the opposition not do anything, they have to be this, they have to show leadership, they have to show why they can replace where, that's not their problem. They just want to campaign. And you shouldn't be cherry picking on their notes. You should talk about Joshua said this, Barker said this, Cummings said this. How you compare the three of them? Unity Party did this, ANC did this, CDC did this. How you compare the three of them? But you can't be always say opposition should have a platform. Then you go from, okay, they have a platform, but they have to know how to communicate. And they communicate badly. They use insult. That's their politics. If you're not on one side, then you will not condemn them. But because you're on the other side, you see their faults. You don't see the fault of the other side.
So, Dr. Dugle, there the government in waiting is the opposition, right? So,
don't the government waiting? Election, everybody's waiting. Everybody's the government waiting.
No, the opposition is the government in waiting, right? You just like the people. I hear people say,
no, in the electoral season, every party is a government in waiting.
Right, you have the ruling party, right? So you have George Weah, who's already there, right?
Yeah.
He's going for re-election. So
the
collective opposition
decided. October 10, Liberians will decide who's going to be the next government.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So you have from party number one, right, at the top of the poll, to party last, which is number 20, or however many people will be competing. Everybody, right, is in the race to win, right? That at least from what politics is, right? So don't you think there's some validity to the opposition claim that there is, or from independents, that we don't hear anything from these people? What are they saying to us? What are their messages? What are they saying to us? What are they going to do differently? More specifically, I would like to say, what are they going to do differently? So don't you think it's valid?
No, I think it's valid. I mean, they're talking every day. Why do you think they've been campaigning on? Barker has his arrest. He has his, Love Liberia, Live Liberia. Cummings got, his infrastructure thing. Gumbo got his sweep. So everybody got something to say. Elections are now won on 10 different ideas. It's one thing that makes you win elections. One thing only. People like you or they don't like you. They feel comfortable with you or they don't. They trust you or they don't trust you. That's it. All the blah we're talking about that we are talking. Platform or debate or you don't win election.
So we're getting
in our society, you talk, people listen to you, and then you make a connection to people. You have to make a connection in people's mind, and that connection is what makes you win, because you click something in their subconscious, and that subconscious say, okay, that's a man for you, that's a woman for you, you want to vote for. Then people go and vote for you. But the platform, you can read 10,000 books, you can go to debates. But no. And then to finish, I want to finish on the election commission. I think, people have the reason to doubt the election commission because it's named by, it's appointed by the president. You can always say, yes, CDC tried to take us to court back in 2005, because they didn't want the election commission, but we said no. We could appoint somebody different. If you fight this this election commission, George Weah said, okay, I'm going to change it. And then he put Mobla Molu as chairman. What are you going to do? He has the right to do it as president. And the Senate will pass him. So you got Molba, chairman of this NEC. So what are you going to say? You don't trust him too?
Oh, we got real quick, Ambassador. We got a call here. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
Hello?
Your name and where you calling from?
Hey, my name is Thomas Kanye. I'm calling from North Carolina.
Go ahead.
What's going on?
All right, good show. I just wanted to make a couple of points, some of which Dr. Duke is making. I think when we come to the show, it's good to give a disclaimer if you don't follow much of the information that is happening in Liberia, rather than making comments that are not factual. Honorable agrees when you make the point that opposition parties are not preaching the message of peace. It's not true. I think a week or so ago, Councillor Gongolo visited opposition and even ruling party political party headquarters. And I think this is the very first time I'm seeing this happening within our electoral cycle, except if it happened maybe before the Civil War. He went to the Unity Party headquarters, he went to the CDC Party headquarters, and he was basically telling other political parties that these elections, now that campaign have opened, it should be on the basis of ideas. Let's not engage in violence. Let it not be physical. So to say that the opposition is now preaching peace in these elections, that's not true, because others have done it. And like Dr. Duke was saying, 5 days after the election, I have read that the Unity Party has said that there are some issues that they have. They are going to document it and share it with the Elections Commission. They are trying as much as possible not to get themselves involved in violence. So to say the opposition is not preaching peace is not true. On the issue of platform, if you've not read any of these party platforms, take time, Honorable Greaves, and visit the ANC website. Their platform is there. Councillor Gonglo has put up his 10 points on how he intends to govern when he wins. The Unity Party has their arrest plan. They've been talking about it for 5 years now. So to just come to the show and don't hold George Weah responsible for anything, everything in the country is on the opposition, I don't think it's a balanced way to be able to present issues on the show. Thank you all very much. Very good show.
Thank you, Thomas. Ambassador?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to the caller, and he's raising good points. Now, you got to understand my point of contention, where I'm coming from. I'm being factual when I say I heard. So you cannot, I don't know how we consider what is factual or what is not factual. I said what I've heard. And now, if you look, I mean, you just provided us something. I've been asking, what are the messaging? What have they told the people? Now, you just provided a very important and essential information that Councillor Gonglo have taken initiative to go around preaching peace and admonishing people to stay away from violence and all that, which is good. It's just one man. There's so many opposition. And unfortunately, Councillor Gonglo happens to be one of the, what I would say, whether you like it or not, lack of a better term, underdog. The major players are what? ANC, UP. Those are the people you could look at now during this exercise and say, these are the people who are on the top that everybody's focused on. And what are they saying? Now, you can have a platform, have a big booklet. If it's not communicated to the people, if nobody's hearing what is in it, I'm not saying I read it, but I'm saying even if you had it, if I take Dr. Duke words for that, nobody's hearing what you got in there. When you keep it on the shelves, the people need to know what you got. The people need to know what makes you different. And that's my understanding of opposition. I'm not giving every grounds to the ruling party or President Weah's party, no. But what I'm saying, I said, more than that, beyond the ruling party, beyond the governing party, it behooves all of us. It's our responsibility to preach peace. And why people are kind of like laid back Why people think there's going to be chaos? Why people think we'll be cheating? Because of the negative narrative, the rhetoric that have been going around. So everybody listening, they get the negative rhetoric. So for that reason, they give them the lack of hope in a transparent election process.
Honorable, we got one caller here. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
Thank you, Mr. Gabe. This is Mohamed from Minnesota. Look, when people call, and let me say hello to all the families. When people
What
call,
is it? Who is it?
You know, this is Elvis from Minnesota.
Oh, Elvis, how are you?
Okay. Yeah, like I was saying, when other people call and say that the Unity Party is portraying a peaceful, character, it's not true. Just like the ambassador just said, if you are sowing seed of doubt and sowing seed of discontent within the hearts of the potential voters that the election will be stolen, that has the propensity to evolve into violence. So that's not peaceful. If the election goes out and everything plays out and you see some irregularities, then you can crowd foul. But if you start preaching it before the election is even held, those will make people think that what you were saying was true, whether or not it was actually founded in evidence that it was true what you said. So it's not true that these people are not preaching for violence, because just how people will start using propaganda to tell you, say, so and so person killing your mind, ripping your mind, whether it's true or not, but it will cause anger in that person's heart and it will want revenge. So it's not being peaceful. Let us not act as if Unity Party is some kind of, a victim in this whole process. They were the ones on the other side, 6 years ago. They had the power, they had the bullet pulpit, the CDC could do nothing about it. So now they're trying to cry as if to say they're powerless. Look, what happened in Liberia today with the scrimmage between the seditionists and the Unity Party people, I think I will put the blame on the government on that one. The president got to step up, the mayor of Monrovia have to step up, have barricades separating the two different groups, have police officers. These are the times, to do those drills where you have riot control gear, you have people separating these two different parties so that you don't have, interference between the two parties when they're trying to do the political activities. So I put that one on the CDC head. They should have been better in terms of, controlling the crowd. But both parties are stoking violence. United Party, Reddit, it has a propensity to stoke violence, and seditionists with their over exuberance, also has the propensity to start violence. So we've got to temper it down a little bit. But I think at the end of the day, whoever wins this election, the person who loses has to be the one who is out front and call for calm. If not, there will definitely be some violence. I don't think we'll escalate to war, but definitely I see some violence if the leaders don't flat out come out and chastise their supporter and not call for violence on either side. I think if I take my call, I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Al.
I think there is
Dr. Dukley, don't we? I know we, when you support one side, you say, my side is not doing this or my side is doing this. Wouldn't you agree that this is on both sides? Like I give an example in 2011, right? That was.
I'm not going to fall into that Trump thing. Both sides mean good. Both sides got good.
No. Dr. Dukley, 2011 was a practical example of something. I even wrote about it. It was something that was done by the government, right? You realize that, when they were in authority too, it wasn't as if, their hands were clean. The ruling party at the time, the Unity Party, and you know that, Dr. Dukley.
Well, when you say the hands were not clean, you have to talk specific. You were talking about
right.
money, stealing,
there was
violence, people getting
so there was a situation where the police was deployed and this young fellow was killed, right? So
that was
you're
talking about the in West Point during the
we're talking about the CDC compound.
Right, in the CDC compound.
Yeah, but they never said who
there was
no
well, we don't know if there was, no one knows what the result of that investigation was. So, it is the reason why it's so important that when these things happen, the perpetrators are held accountable, because when that doesn't happen, then the other party comes in power and they say, oh, look, they did the same thing. So they think they have the license to to do the same thing. So I mean, I'm just saying that, you know, it has to, there has to be a time where, because we Liberians, we are quick to say, oh, everybody is responsible. No, everybody is not responsible for chaos. It's a few people who are responsible, and when they do it, they should be held accountable. I mean, Ellen probably didn't tell that police officers to go and shoot that child. But what happened?
But do you know, was it a policeman that shot that person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, not only that, but Ellen went and removed, I think her name was Geraldine, the police chief, and they had to remove him. But I'm saying, when we're talking about violence, just recently, the vice president of the Unity Party, Jeremiah Kuhn, was in Buchanan, in my hometown, and he blamed the Grand Judeans for taking children from Nimba County and selling them in Bassa for $5 Doe coin or something. And not only that, but he said Doe took 300 children and buried them alive in Bassa.
See,
now, how can a man who is vying for the second spot in our country, vice president, trying to divide our country along the bloody line that we are trying to bury, went into Bassa and made those comments that are not true? There is no evidence that Doe took 300 Nigerians, babies, and buried them alive and sold the rest of them for $5 Doe coin. For Jeremiah Kuhn to have said this, I mean, I was cringing when I heard this. So that is a form of violence. That is trying to stoke the two counties, the two people again, to incite them to war. Is not fair.
You could say it is violence. You could say it's violence. It's violence. You know, we all know about Radio Kigali. Words can get to violence. So what do you say when you say where you say it matters? If Jeremiah Kuhn said that, it was stupid. Just like I said when Verdier came on the air and said the former Chief Justice was, you know, ambushed by in their own house. I said, no, it was stupid, reckless. You don't make that kind of statement unless you have proof, and then you can prove it in the court of law. I said that. And I don't stand by violence in language and violence in, in attitude. But the casket was an act of violence, provocation. And today, for Bouaka to return to his camp to say, okay, let's turn back and not engage these people, that was, something. The people have to talk about those things. Because somebody was there. The man who just called, he said the police should, the government should have done something. The government knew Bouaka as the top contender or the second top contender was going someplace. He had security behind him. Why was he not protected? Why was he not allowed to get to where he was going? He had to turn back. You know the humiliation for a campaign manager, a campaign team to turn back and say, we can't go to where we're going because somebody is in the front. And if we go, we'll fight them. If we fight them, there'll be a chaos. Somebody may get hurt, but let's go home. Do you understand the message here? And you calling the same people and say, be peaceful. They're the peaceful one. They return home. They didn't go fight. They didn't, bulldozer through the car and say, let's kill them and move on and go. And then we can explain that they provoke us. No, they did not. Yeah, if you happen on one side, yes, you talk about it. If you happen on the other side, you talk about it. Nobody wants violence in these elections. Everybody wants peaceful elections. And politicians will make their rhetorics. Yes.
We have a call after Dr. Douglas. Chief, please call your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, this is Carver, and I'm calling from Maryland.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to contribute a little bit to the discussion, especially when it comes to the shooting that went on and the killing of that one of the partisans of CDC at the CDC headquarters. That wasn't done by the police of Liberia at the time. It was done by the own-mill soldier. At the time, police don't have guns. It was done by the own-mill soldier after CDC had gone on the main street to burn tires and vehicles. That's what prompted the own-mill soldier to have gone there. There wasn't anything that was in between any partisan like Unity Party and CDC. It was all citizen protest right on there in front of the barrier court. And that's how all male soldiers went there. And unfortunately, I don't know what happened, but they were the ones. But police never had gone at the job. So please, please say police. That's all I wanted to make clarity. But it's a good show, and thank you all for the discussion.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so just like we said, everybody will have a different version of things that happen, and you can't blame them to that. But words have words have magnitude, and words matter. Once a country continues being in a negative messaging and rhetorics, and with everything is going lost. I'm sorry, I was just interrupted. That's what is burden on everybody. If an opposition group plus the governing group enter the Dugle, I hope you don't misunderstand my points I'm making. I'm not defending the government. I'm not saying the government is 100% correct in everything they do. I'm not saying the opposition is not doing what it should do. What I'm saying, our hope is always within the opposition when there are cries, when there are times where they're advocating a better government, better governance, and a better livelihood for our people. I'm looking at them and want to trust them. I want to believe we are the employers. It's their duty to come to us and persuade us. I won't be hired by you. This is what we have. This is what we can do better than whoever that is there. So in that vein, it gives them. I'll cut it 1 minute, please. Somebody take the floor, please. I'm getting up.
All right. So Jerome, unless you have another.
1 second, just 1 second. I could say, that's very good when you say that. Okay, he's gone anyway. Okay. Game, go on.
Yeah, one of the things that I think the other caller talked about, and I think it makes sense, even though the CDC and the president, they had given the schedule, the campaign itinerary 2 weeks ago to the NEC, to the media. Yesterday, at 2:27 p.m., the UP said, they sent out a press release that they were going to have an announcement of additional people on their campaign team. Well, the president was supposed to be in district number 10 and 9. And according to what I have here, the press release, the president was in the district. And when when the vice president were coming to town, they said there were traffic, so much so that they couldn't get through. The partisans from the Unity Party, some of them got upset and said they were going to make sure that Honorable Boyka got through. And this is where the problem lies. And the problem here is, if someone has their schedule with the NEC weeks in advance, okay, and you decide that you want to have something impromptu, I think it is incumbent upon you to coordinate with the pre-planned event. But I think Elvis had a point. At this event, the joint security should be at all times ready to make sure that there is a free movement. You cannot stop people from moving because you are having your event. Not the president, the police dropped the ball on this. There has to be free movement. Not everybody in the country wants to go to your event or want to come to a standstill. So I see where the security, they were reactive. They waited until things got out of hand before they came with their, all their shields and everything trying to open up. At the time, it was already late. So I think there should be a teachable movement, that they need to work together, they need to coordinate, whether you are on opposite sides. If I'm coming through, there's nothing wrong with me calling Dr. Dukley and say, listen, I'm coming through Baltimore. Are you in the area there? Something happened. You know, I will call on you if I have a flat tire or, you know, an order. There's no need for me to stay in a hotel. Can you host me? Can you keep me in your basement? We have to have these kind of a relationship, because election is going to be after October 10th. Our relation goes back to square one. We will be related as we have always been. We will be brothers and sisters as we have always been. We will be schoolmates as we have always been. So yes, I think the security dropped the ball on this one.
All right.
So,
yeah, thank you. So let's do this, gentlemen. Let's
I want to respond to something quick.
Okay, so what we're gonna do now is, like, Dr. Dukley, once I go to you, you say what you want to say, and then add your closing statement to that, so we can go around the room with closing statement. Now we're way over time. So yes, go ahead, Dr. Dukley, and then add your closing statement.
My closing statement, that's easy. We're going to have a very peaceful elections. Peaceful election, because I think the commission is being watched. Everybody's watching the process, and I think we can trust God and Almighty that peace will be peaceful. And those deranged followers who don't know the difference between campaigning and insulting, keep them in check. And it is mostly, I think, if we know Liberian history, we remember what happened. The NPP morphed into the CDC somehow. They got tendencies to violence sometimes. I just want to respond to my young brother, Ambassador Greaves. When you say the political party, opposition party, are supposed to sell their ideas to you to convince you to come on board, and you don't see nothing, the young man who just called said to you, go to ANC webpage, you see the platform. You say first there was no platform. You pick a platform. Go look at his platform. So you as a lawyer, you're part of the 1% of the people that the parties don't really talk to, because you already know where you're going. You are part, me, myself, Gateman, and Sherif, we don't need convincing. We know from the beginning of the process. They're talking to the people down the line over there who don't read, who just want to know what you're going to do for us tomorrow. So if you don't go as an intellectual, the campaign started, you've been here in Washington, in New York, you got computers, you didn't say, okay, what is ANC doing? What is their platform? You never check. But you come on the show and say they don't have a platform. And then you change that to say, oh, they might have a platform, but they're not selling it. What do you want them to do? Bring it to your living room, my friend?
Right.
I close on that.
Thank you, Dr. Dukley. So Ambassador Greaves, same thing. So this will, you can wrap it up, and then we can close.
And I will wrap up this way. I'm sorry for that break. I had to call my wife. She wanted to pick her up. Anyway, so I never said they didn't have a platform. I said, where is the platform?
On their websites.
What are the plans? I said, and leaders in opposition or what have you, they don't tell the supporters, go to my website. That's why you have campaign rallies. That's why you have them go into the different constituencies, trying to meet the people and talk to them. That's when you synchronize and paraphrase or summarize your platform for the people to know what you're about. How can we trust you better than what we have? They said every road is paved for good intentions. I mean, every road, the road to hell is also paved by good intentions. So I can come and look charming. If I don't tell you anything, I can take blind loyalty. So that's the point I was making. I didn't say that they didn't have platform. I said, where is the platform? What are the talking points? What are they selling to the Liberian people? How do they persuade and convince the people to vote for them? I said, what I've heard that have overpowered anything good from them are all negative rhetorics, dark messaging. That's what I said. And then somebody, and the caller called, he said, oh, Councillor Gonglo has been on the positive side. I said, that's good. It's just one. And unfortunately, he happens to be an underdog. We're talking about the leading group right now. You talk about ANC, UP. Those are the people everybody want to hear from. I also came back to say, in democracy, there will be protests. on our constitution, there are permits for all those things. It might get violent at times. People might get overhyped and hyperactive and do things that are wrong. We have democracy. We have a rule of law. Those individuals should be identified, prosecuted, investigated, and prosecuted. So the whole country remains stable. So that the whole country is not, because if the whole country has gone to a lockdown, there's a different situation. But for in one segment with people protesting and some of them being rude and some of them having violence, those people can easily be probed, investigated, and prosecuted. That's the rule of law. Now, words have meaning. Words matter. If the opposition continue in the negative frame of things, what I have heard, it creates a lack of distrust in our system. And that's why people are now, before the game can even take place, they're already crying foul. It's not going to be fair.
Thank you,
because of the year. And one last point. Sorry, one last point. Back to the whole West African vision, because we went on the topic a little bit.
Correct.
What is happening in Niger? You give a history of the French colonized countries and what they inherited from the French society. In Niger was a complete different situation. Why the ECOWAS, now the Guinea, why ECOWAS did not intervene? Because ECOWAS do not intervene in domestic affairs. What was happening in Guinea initially was domestic. The president had come up, met a Supreme Court and what have you, and wanted to change the constitution. And it was still debated. It was still being debated. ECOWAS could not get involved. When things got chaotic, he got overthrown, ECOWAS went in because there was something happening more than over the democratic process, and they had to intervene. In Niger, the president just won the elections, free and fair democratic elections, 2021, just recently. Now, it's a feud between he and his predecessor, who is believed to be the political godfather of Niger, the former president, Mamadou Issoufou. He had his people in place. He come from the majority group. They control the oil. So there was a little discontent. So it was nothing about the French colonization or the French rule that caused that problem, or he got in and wanted to stay long. No, he was just in power. What happened was that the chief of the presidential guard, who was the protege of the former president, was kept in place. And there was some discontent between the former president and the current president of not going with his plans. And he was deviating, calling his own chapter, trying to do things differently. And he opened an anti-corruption commission and started prosecuting ex-government officials, including the former president cronies or exploits. And that what led into this whole problem. So, and then the head of the guard service, the general Tiani, who was kept in place and recommended by the former president to the current president to keep him in place, he was taking advice from the former president, according to what we're hearing now. And he was the one who mustered the whole coup and took over power.
Thank you,
Ambassador. Keeping it up a piece of time.
Thank you, Ambassador. We will certainly have time to come back.
That cannot happen. Just a small parenthesis. The former president's son was Minister of Petrol in this government. He was the first one arrested by the military. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah, he was. So I don't know where the discontent was, but he was head of the mines and military and petrol.
Thank you. Let's come back to this.
I'm sorry. Just 1 minute, please. Just 1 minute. His son was arrested. Where is he right now? So it was said that it was a game play so that the blames would not go on him after he was silent for so long and did not talk and didn't condemn the coup. So after they had to make something up. Then his son got arrested. Then he came out and spoke and said, well, I was silent because I wanted to mediate between the two groups, the current president and the junta groups. My son is arrested already. So you can blame me. So everybody's speculating that was the case.
Gentlemen, so
Anyway, I leave it
okay,
right
we gotta go. We gotta get out of here now. It's 10 o'clock. It's after 10. Jerome,
word of wisdom. I follow these things.
Jerome, like Dennis said, like Dennis would say, 59 seconds.
Yeah, I don't even need that much. We will come back here. Dr. Dukley, thank you very much. Honorable Grease, thank you very much for your contribution. And Sherif and I, we always at each other's throat because I know him from Nigeria. He tried to fake his identity. A great show. Thank you very much. You don't need that much time. I think I will listen to our folks. We need to appeal to our better selves. We will have a Liberia after October 10th. And yes, we love the country. We have made strides. And we should keep it that way. So for all of us out there, if somebody did something to you that you dislike, don't use the opportunity now of chaos to set up scores. We don't need to do that. Let's keep this election peaceful. Let's do as much as we can. Make sure you got your voter registration card. Get in line early as you can and vote and trust the system. Like we said, trust the process. God bless.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. This has been a great show. We will do it again. If it's Thursday, it has to be Tough Talking Thursday. So with that, we close with, I was saying, we're all Liberians, whether you're part of the Unity Party or the ruling CDC or just, ANC or independent. We're all Liberians. And we are Liberians.